A pine branch filters water better than a Brita pitcher. Not a metaphor, not a survival trick. A real MIT engineering study proved it in a laboratory setting. 99.9% of all bacteria removed from contaminated water. E. coli, cholera, salmonella, giardia, all trapped in the wood. And the total cost is exactly $0. Inside every pine tree branch is xylem tissue. Thousands of microscopic straws lined with pit pores measuring 70 nanometers wide. A single bacteria cell measures at least 200 nanometers across. That tiny difference in size is the entire reason you're still alive every time you drink from a mountain stream. The MIT team published this in PLOS One in 2014. Then they tested it in rural India in 2021. It worked in the field. They launched a free public website with instructions. And yet, you have never heard about this. The global water filtration market is worth $60 billion. A simple pine branch threatens that entire business model. In this video, the exact MIT method and why the industry buried this for 7 years. Let's begin. The year was 2014 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A mechanical engineering professor named Rohit Karnik was reading old scientific papers about tree biology inside his university office. He found something that stopped him cold at his own desk. Trees do not just carry water from the root up to the leaf, they actively filter that water on the entire way up. Inside every single pine tree branch, there is a tissue called xylem tissue. Thousands of microscopic straws running from the wet ground up into every green pine needle at the very top. Each straw is lined with thin membranes called pit pores. These pit pores measure around 70 nanometers wide on average. A single bacteria cell measures at least 200 nanometers across. That tiny difference in size is the entire reason that you are still alive every time you drink from a mountain stream. The tree itself does all of the filtering work before the water even reaches the top leaves of the canopy. Karnik and his research team at MIT decided to test the idea in the laboratory. They cut a small section of fresh white pine sapwood. Pinus strobus is the official scientific name. Common pine tree grows all over North America. They peeled the outer bark completely off the wood section. They stuffed the inner wood into a plastic tube and sealed every single edge tight with epoxy resin. Then they poured water, contaminated with active E. coli bacteria, through it under light pressure. What came out of the other side of this filter had 99.9% less bacteria. The test was repeated many times over using different wood samples. Same exact result every single time they tried it again. The paper was officially published in the journal PLOS One in the year 2014. The scientific community called the final result elegant and remarkable. Then they did absolutely nothing with it for 7 long years straight. Now watch this live demonstration happening right here on your screen. I have a glass of water taken from a standing backyard puddle. You can see the visible sediment floating around, the brown tint, real contamination in the glass. I took a fresh pine branch from my own backyard earlier this morning, peeled the outer bark off with an ordinary camping knife, cut a clean section about 4 centimeters long, pushed it tight into the opening of a plastic water bottle, sealed all of the outer edges with ordinary duct tape to stop any leaks. Now I pour the dirty water into the open top of the bottle. It takes a few minutes to slowly drip through the wood. You do not rush gravity. What drips out the bottom of the bottle comes out visibly clear. Not just clearer than before, it comes out actually clear drinkable water. I sent samples from both sides to a local testing laboratory for bacterial analysis. They used a standard bacterial culture kit for comparison. The unfiltered puddle sample came back with a full colony growing on the plate. The filtered water sample came back almost completely empty of bacteria growth. That is not a metaphor or a marketing claim from some brand. That is real laboratory data from a real bacterial culture plate. A branch from a pine tree, peeled, cut, sealed in a plastic bottle. And the water that came out was safer than tap water in many American cities right now. A pine branch, a piece of tape, a plastic bottle. That is a working pathogen filter sitting right there on the table. Let me show you the numbers that nobody repeats on television. 1 cubic centimeter of pine sapwood can produce around 4 liters of drinking water every day. That is enough clean water for 1 adult human being forever from a single piece of branch. The average Brita pitcher costs about $35 in the store. The replacement filter cartridges cost $15 each. You are supposed to change them out every 2 months. That adds up to $90 per year forever for the rest of your life. A pine branch costs exactly $0 on any trail. It replaces itself naturally every time the tree grows new wood each spring. And it removes types of bacteria that Brita does not even claim to remove on the official label. Read your own Brita box carefully. I will wait here. It only filters chlorine taste and some heavy metals. That is it. It does not filter E. coli. It does not filter cholera. It does not filter salmonella at all. A simple pine branch does all 3 of those things without any electricity. The same MIT team went even further in the year 2021. They published a second research paper in Nature Communications. They tested xylem branch filters in rural India with real contaminated water from real villages. The filters worked in the field, not just inside the controlled lab environment. They launched an open source website with free public instructions for building these filters. You can use pine, ginkgo, and other conifer trees. The knowledge is public. The research is fully paid for by public funding. The total cost to you personally is absolutely nothing at all. And yet, somehow, you have never once heard about this in your entire life. If you made it this far, you already know more about water than 99% of people in the bottled water aisle. Subscribe to this channel and share this video with someone who needs to remember what they made us forget. Now stay here with me. The next part is the heaviest part of all. So why does absolutely nobody know about this? Why is this simple fact not printed on every survival guide sold at the store? The global water filtration market is worth more than $60 billion per year. Brita, Pure, Aquasana, Berkey, LifeStraw. All of these companies sell plastic cartridges. They sell expensive subscriptions to filters that expire after a few months of use. A simple pine branch threatens that entire business model at the root. You cannot patent a tree that grows in a public forest. You cannot sell a version that customers need to repurchase every 2 months forever. You cannot trademark something that grows for free outside your window right now. The entire economic structure of the filtration industry depends on proprietary materials. A public MIT paper that says pine wood works just as well is a complete commercial nightmare for them. So the research gets buried under mountains of marketing noise. The branches stay quietly in the forest where nobody looks for them. And you keep paying $90 every year for charcoal powder that does less than a simple stick. Here's exactly what to do if you want to try this at home. Find any pine tree. Any kind of conifer tree will work fine. White pine, ponderosa, lodgepole, red pine, spruce, all of them contain usable xylem tissue. Cut a fresh branch about 1 centimeter in diameter thickness. Fresh branches always work better than old dried ones. The MIT research team found that dried wood loses permeability as the inner membranes collapse. Peel all of the bark off with a knife until only the pale inner wood remains visible. Cut a clean section about 3 to 4 centimeters long. Push it snugly into a plastic bottle with the bottom cut off or into any rigid plastic tube. Seal all of the outer edges tight with tape or epoxy so water cannot bypass the filter. Pour your contaminated water into the open top. Wait a few minutes. Let gravity slowly do all of the work for you. What comes out of the bottom is bacteria-free drinkable water. One small branch produces around 4 liters per day of clean drinking water. That is one adult human being forever on one single branch. A commercial gravity filter costs $300 and does the same exact job. I need to be completely honest with you about one important limitation here. Xylem branch filters cannot remove viruses or chemical contaminants like arsenic or fluoride. For bacteria and protozoa, they work perfectly. For everything else, you need additional steps. But for someone lost in the woods, for a disaster zone, for a simple backyard emergency kit, a pine branch is the exact difference between drinking clean water and dying of thirst. This knowledge did not die in an archive. It was waiting there patiently. It waited for a professor at MIT to notice it in an old journal. It waited for someone to share this video with someone else. It waited for you to watch all the way until the very end. If this video made a real difference for you, subscribe to this channel and share it widely. Every single share preserves exactly what the industry has tried to erase from public memory. The next vault opens soon on this channel, and what is inside weighs even heavier than what we dug up today.